And in such a competitive space like iGaming, you also have to deal with a lot of negative attacks.
Yes, there are a ton of different negative attacks. There are some that are really, really difficult to defend against. There are things like false DMCA claims. So those are quite difficult to defend against because there's just involves a lot of back and forth and so on. Then you have your typical spam, on the other spectrum of things. You have the Telegram links that every website has now, and especially casino websites. So all those basic Telegram spam links, I have been disavowing them regularly, even though I wasn't a big proponent of disavow tool, but I have seen some positive movement when disavowing those links. And there's been so many things. We had experiences of people like completely copying our website using some JavaScript code. They like completely copied our content, everything, trying to rank with it. We had experiences with a bunch of stuff. DDoS attacks.
And like traffic manipulation, right? Sending the wrong traffic signals.
Well, yeah, especially like if we're talking about CTR manipulation.
Exactly.
Like, increasing your bounce rate or decreasing your engagement rate.
Exactly. How do you defend against that?
It's super difficult. So basically, I was actually talking with someone about it. There are ways to defend, but basically you have to pinpoint that traffic somehow. And if they are using good CTR, it's very difficult to do because if Google can't figure it out, you're gonna have problems figuring it out as well. Because if it's good CTR, then they're using specific Chrome profiles. It's not a headless browser. It's very hard to get that joint factor where you can isolate them and filter them out.
Exactly.
And basically what you can do is figure out what's the time of day, because usually people set it to a specific time of day. But even now, like some people have their own click farms where people with actual phones go and do it.
That's great.
And it's almost impossible to defend against.
What are your ways to monitor against these attacks? Because I think it's very important to catch them early on. But how do you decide this is actually an attack versus maybe some natural...
log files. You have to look at your log files.
How often do you check them?
At least on a weekly level. So depending on the website, of course, depending on how big it is and how much money it's making. But on a weekly level, for some of the bigger websites, we check log files on a weekly level. It's not necessary to do it every day. I think that's a bit of an overkill.
Okay.
But we have some websites where we do it, like, for example, every Wednesday.
Yes. And that's your way to kind of
you're going to catch some things there. You give them a look. You look at that. You look at Cloudflare, if there's anything suspicious there, things like that.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about the social signals. So are shares on social media like X mentions or Instagram, Facebook, off-page boosters?
I think they are. I think you should have your social media set up like as soon as you launch your website. So you should have your social fortress, how we used to call it, set up and everything there. We did do things like viral traffic in the past.
I wanted to ask you, does it still work?
Yeah. Okay. Everything still works. If VPN still works, so does this. It just it might be a little bit different on how you're approaching it. Okay. So you can't have the same VPN you had in 2011. You cannot have the same type of VPN today. So you cannot have 2,000 websites on one shared IP. And it's the same thing with viral traffic. It just depends on what you're using, where you're getting it from, and what you're trying to do with it. I don't think that's social media itself, these shares and stuff like that, I don't think those things have a massive effect on SEO. They might have a bit of it. But what I do know is that the traffic you're getting from social media has a big effect. I think Google's tracking a lot of it through Chrome UX. So Google's tracking a lot of user metrics. If you can get good quality traffic from social media, then I think that can do wonders for your website.
We found out from the Google leak, engagement metrics are one of the strongest signals for Google. Is manipulating those a good idea?
Yes, I mean that's what you're doing with viral traffic, basically. So any type of fake traffic that you're sending to your website it works. It works. It doesn't work forever.
Yeah,
and it is expensive. So you have to think about, like I said, you have to think about cost effectiveness of certain things. If you're going to be spending if you're going to be doing viral traffic and you're going to be doing it continuously, because you kind of have to, because once you stop,
yeah, exactly.
it's kind of a negative signal.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you how to do it correctly.
Yeah, basically, once you start doing it, you're locked in. Unfortunately, how things are moving right now is like, in certain cases, you have to do it because your competitors are doing it and they have a competitive edge over you. Another thing is like what I used it for in the past. I used it for triggering re-rankings. So during an update, if I see my website dropping, I would push viral traffic, get some of those good user signals, those good engagement metrics, and then do a re-ranking of the site. That worked nicely. But at the end of the day, it's kind of a thing where you just have to continuously pay and you just have to push the traffic continuously.